What's going on, guys? Hey, I wanted to bring you a story out of a place called Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And right now, they're offering people up to like $25,000 if you're black and one of your ancestors lived there between 1919 and 1969. You might be eligible for $25,000. Why? Well, because they were discriminated against. If your great-great-grandfather had a hard time getting a job, let's say in 1923, then you might be eligible for that money. You might be eligible for that money because he was discriminated against. And one thing we have to truly understand, guys, is that white people, in places like New York City, man, they had a hard time getting a job back 100 years ago. Man, if they have Italian blood, or Irish blood, or German blood, or whatever, they again had a hard time getting jobs. They had a hard time finding apartments to rent. So again, we have to understand that if we open that door, when are we going to shut it? When is it going to be enough? That's one thing we have to understand. And number two, man, right now, everyone seems to either want to be viewed as, number one, they want to be seen as a victim, or they want to be seen as some kind of a savior. And, again, man, I think in a lot of ways being a savior is probably even worse than being a victim. Because, again, man, first of all, no one can save anyone except for God. No one can. Again, you can't save anyone. You can point them in the right direction, but you can't make them hear you. So, again, if you truly want to help people, then tell them you can do it. You can make something of yourself. You can become better. Teach them to fish. You don't give them a fish, you teach them. Because guess what? They're going to be hungry tomorrow. So again, teach them to fish. But also, man, we have got to understand that we truly cannot save people. We truly can't. We can point them in the right direction, but it doesn't mean they're going to hear us. That does not mean they're going to hear you. So again, man, there are people like these woke people out there, that these woke activists, these woke white people, primarily, that see themselves as saviors, better than you. And again, man, because they will vote for you to have money. They will vote for you to be given whatever. They're truly not helping you. They don't care. They truly don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about the community. They don't care. But again, the only thing they care about is the way they're viewed. The way they're viewed. But hey, guys, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.
A Chicago suburb is moving forward with a promise to pay reparations to its African-American residents for facing years of discrimination.
Clearly, this is a very controversial issue. Evanston, Illinois set aside $10 million over the next 10 years for the Reparations Fund. There are a lot of critics who say this is just a government handout. Supporters say it's one step in the fight to address a history of wrong. They want to be a model for the rest of the country. And Nick is here with a closer look. Evanston is the first to do this, right?
They are indeed, Adrian, and it could be a test run for the entire country. Communities throughout the country are keeping a close eye on Evanston, Illinois. That's because the Chicago suburb is doing what they said they were going to do: pay reparations to black residents that dealt with discrimination decades ago, a move considered by many to be a test run for the entire country. $10 million over the next 10 years. It's the promise the Evanston, Illinois City Council made to its black residents back in 2019.
Of course, it's not the 40 acres and a mule, but it's a start.
Evanston is the only municipality nationwide that is using a reparations fund to pay black residents who were discriminated against and faced a lack of access to housing. To qualify, individuals must have lived in the city between 1919 and 1969 and were at least 18 years old.
I'm exceedingly full of joy to see that there are people who are recognizing people of color.
It's a long process, but for those who were approved, they will receive $25,000.
That man said, it's a start. I guess it's not great, but it's going in the right direction. Yeah. The thing is, man, again, if you're getting paid $25,000 because somebody in your family at some point in time was either a slave or, discriminated against for whatever. And again, we're not talking about you. We're talking about somebody that you might have been related to at some point in time. Again, that you didn't know. But the fact is, man, again, it's a start. Really? Again, you better count yourself lucky if you get 25,000. Because again, man, everyone at some point has been discriminated against by somebody, somewhere, in somebody's family, at some point.
St. Paul, Minnesota, and Amherst, Massachusetts look to start their own reparations committee. Critics argue the reparations payments are simply government handouts.
I've been saying this from day one, that reparations is more than cash payments. And it's unfortunate that that has become a linchpin or a starting point for people who are against it. There's a myriad of other things in reparations.
But in California, a decision to take up recommendations for reparations sits with the state legislature after a reparations task force delivered an 1,100-page report to lawmakers and Governor Gavin Newsom. Included in the document, recommendations for dozens of policy changes and payments of up to $1.2 million to those who are descendants of black slaves or those who had relatives that arrived before 1900.
Yeah, $1.2 million. $1.2 million. And it wasn't you. It wasn't you, man. It was somebody in your family at some point, maybe, way back in history. But again, it wasn't you. $1.2 million. I mean, think about that for a minute. Again, man, it'd be people that are involved in serious accidents and, in medical malpractice and whatever. They don't get $1.2 million sometimes. So again, we have to understand what is actually happening here. Again, they're taking money away from you, from the taxpayers. Again, we should be using our present things that are happening in the present. Like fixing the roads, building jails, building parks. Again, man, it's something that should go for what's happening now. Education. Something that is happening now, not something happened years ago. And again, man, nobody here was a slave or a slave owner. Again, we have got to understand that. But yeah, they're gonna spend money. 1.2 billion is what they're talking about. I mean, come on, guys, give me a break.
It's not just the well-being of people of African ancestry that is on the line. It is the very heart and soul of this country.
Adrian and Mark, in each of these places where reparations are being considered, questions remain among them. Who will pay for it? And where will the money come from? As for the city of Evanston, they're funding their reparations program through marijuana and real estate transfer taxes. Back to you.
All right.
You know what, guys, man? All we can have is full equality under the law. That's all you can have. All you can have is equal under the law. That's it. And we have that, and we've had that for many, many years. That is what we've had. And, the thing is, man, at some point in everyone's history, everyone's family history, there is wrongdoing. There was slavery. If you trace your family history back far enough, if you can, you're going to find slavery at some point. Slavery, discrimination, everything at some point, even white people. So again, we have to understand there were more white slaves in Northern Africa than there ever was here in America. And that's something we truly got to see. We got to understand that. The fact of the matter is, man, all we can do is go forward. That's it. That's all we can ever do. We can't spend money trying to right the wrongs that happened years ago. You definitely can't right the wrongs of years ago by throwing money at people because their great-great-grandfather was, again, he wasn't able to get an apartment somewhere. That, again, is not going to work. That is not going to work. Again, over and over again, if you want to help people, tell people the truth. That you can do whatever you want to do. But you can't right the wrongs of the past by giving people money, again, because of something that happened to some, ancestor of theirs. You can't do it. It doesn't make sense. But hey guys, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks.
You son of a